Hello, friends. So good to be with you today. Got a good week going this week. I'm going to tell you something. I really believe this is going to be a good week for you. It really is. And we just kind of tell you this. Sometimes that's a decision. Sometimes it is not the result of circumstances being right. Sometimes that's a decision. You're having to make the decision as to not just what you're going to do, but you're going to have to make the decision how you're going to respond to the things that you were not expecting. I mean, stop and think about that for a few moments. How many things have come into your life that you were not expecting, and suddenly, boom, I'm having to deal with this crisis. I'm having to deal with that crisis. I was talking to a friend today in Oklahoma City, and we were just visiting, and he said, "What are you doing?" And of course, I just had kind of a quippy little answer. I said, "Well, I'm just rat killing." And what that meant is I'm just having to swat here and swat there and take care of this problem and that problem. You know what I'm talking about. And I say, "Well, I'm just rat killing." I mean, a lot of you got rats that need to be exterminated. I'm trying to put this fire out and put that fire out, and this problem's come up. Where in the world did that come from? And so, he made it. I said, "Well, I'm rat killing," and he said, "Well, the problem is that those rats really breed easily." And I thought about that, and I thought, that's really true. That is true. Those problems tend to grow and create more problems, and I wanted to just talk to you for just a couple of moments about that, because sometimes the things in your life become distractions in your life, so much so that you're not able to do what you need to do. You're limited on what you can do. You've got 8 hours to work, 8 hours to sleep. You've got 8 hours to do something else. With your time, talent, and energy, that's what God's given you. That's the three commodities. You can either spend it or you can invest it. But the bottom line is, once it's gone, it's gone. You're going to so you're going to have to manage that time, and distractions come in to steal time. See, if you want to control a man, control his time. I will say it again, because I think a lot of times we miss that. If you want to control a man, control his time. And so sometimes the distractions that's hitting you from this side and that side, and kind of what I'm calling rat killing, all of these distractions and things that's pulling from you sometimes can be an assignment to make you ineffective. See, because you can get to where you're just going through so many motions. You're putting out a fire here and putting out a fire there. I might as well go ahead and just kind of interrupt what I'm saying here. There's been a lot of times where people have said, "Well, if God was such a good God, why did he let that happen?" And they'll point out some crisis that took place, some tragedy that took place. And the answer to that is, God doesn't respond to crisis. He responds to faith. If God responded to crisis with Lucifer, with Satan's involvement in people's life, his ability to bring chaos in someone's life at a moment's notice. I mean, he can just cause problems here and problems there. Well, if God just responded to those problems, put out this fire, run over here and put out that fire, go put out another fire, it wouldn't be 30 days till Satan controlled all of God's movement. So God doesn't respond to crisis. God responds to faith. And for your life, you have to understand, you can't solve every crisis. You can't meet every crisis. Excuse me. I think maybe that's something you need to stop and think about for a moment. I know you feel like you've got a big S on your chest, Superman. But you can't do everything. You can't solve every problem, even with your kids. I wish you could suddenly snap your finger and all your kids would come and do it, but you can't do it. You know you can't control them. I was talking to someone the other day, and I said, Lord, I can't even make my dog and cat mine. How in the world am I going to get everybody else to do what I want them to do? The bottom line is you can't be responsible for everybody and what they do. Sometimes you just have to let them run their course. That doesn't mean that you don't care. That doesn't mean you're insensitive. You just know I can only do so much. I can't do everything. I've got so much rat killing capacity. I have this much room on my hard drive. I got no more room than that. I don't have a Messiah complex. In other words, it's not up to me to save the world. What I want to do is hear the voice of God and be obedient to that voice. But I got to know where my limitations are. And I really felt that I wanted to share this with you is to say to you, and it's not a negative thing, but you have limitations. There are some things you can't do, and you have to accept that. There's some things you can't fix. You have to accept that. Otherwise, you'll find yourself running 24 hours a day, trying to fix not just your problems, but everybody else's problems. So don't let distractions come in. Don't let other people put things on your plate that you can't eat. You have to know when to push away from the table. And I know a lot of great ideas out there, but this is something that I talk to people about. I say there's a difference between a good idea and a God idea. Sometimes it's a great idea, but it's not the right idea for me. For me, I'm not always separating the good from the bad. It's not like I'm trying to distinguish what's good. This is good and that's bad. Sometimes I've got so many things going that I have to distinguish between the good and the good. I've got to separate those, which means I can embrace some of the good, but some of the good I can't get to. I just can't do it. So that's what I felt like I needed to share that with you, that the plans for your life can be disrupted by and misdirected, or even can be derailed by distractions, by rat killing, by this problem, this tragedy, that happening over there. You've got to know what you can and can't do. And I think, to me, that's one of the greatest lessons in life that you can ever have, is when you learn the boundaries of what you can and can't do, to where you understand, I can have this on my plate and I can consume this, and the other, as good as it is, I just can't put that on my plate right now. So sometimes you have to distinguish that. Now, another thing that you're going to have to consider is sometimes you have to learn to say no. That's a hard thing. I think that there's a problem in people that we would refer to as people pleasers. And we all are that to an extent. There's been so many times, because I didn't want to disappoint somebody, that I said yes over things that I knew was going to stretch me to the absolute limit if I was able to do it at all. And I think one of the things that you learn in life is you learn to say, no, I can't. I can't. It's hard to do, because you really feel peer pressure from people that you love or that you care for, that you admire, and you really want to be able to please them. But you've got to understand that your life will become derailed if you don't learn to say no, to separate what you can do from what you can't do. Does that make any sense to you? I'm not going to let distractions add so much to my plate that I can't get to everything. I go to bed exhausted, unfulfilled, because I've got so many things to do. And I've got to get up in the morning, and I wake up in the morning and I'm exhausted and unfulfilled because I've got so many things to do and I don't see any way out of it. See, that's not God's will for your life. Sometimes you have to kind of unplug your computer, so to speak. Unplug and then plug it back in. Sometimes you need to reboot. Sometimes you need to start all over again, because it will build on you. It'll build and build and build until finally you just can't get to it all. I was looking at my mail. I have a Gmail account, and I was looking at my mail, and I've got 4,000 emails on there. I thought, you got to be kidding me. Now, a lot of them are advertisements and things like that, but there's just been a lot of things that instead of processing it and doing it what needed, I just got overwhelmed, and then you end up not dealing with it, and it just keeps growing until finally you've got more going than you can get to. I'm just telling you, in your life, if you want a successful life, you're going to have to determine what your boundaries are. You're going to have to understand, and that's not being mean to anyone. Listen to me. If you have to be mean to that, I think that something is wrong there. You don't have to bring order by being mean to people. Sometimes you just have to be firm. It doesn't mean that you're angry at anyone. It doesn't mean that you're anything like that. You're just very lovingly say, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can't take any more calls. I can't talk on the phone. I can't take that responsibility. You know, I used to have a little series, not one of a series, but it was an actual lesson that I did for people, leadership lesson, and it was dealing with responsibilities, and each one of the responsibilities was a monkey. And I want you to imagine that. You've got this little spider monkey or chimpanzee or whatever, and that represents the task that and there are some people that we are called monkey picker-uppers. In other words, they'll go through and they don't just take care of all of their stuff. They take other people's responsibilities and what that does is that gets that person out of bounds. Or there are those that just simply go and give their responsibilities to everybody else, which weighs them down. You see that person walking and he looks like a circus. He's got 5 monkeys climbing all over his head. I mean, and he's frustrated. He's distracted. He's angry. He's confused. He's exhausted. I mean, you can tell when people have picked up too many responsibilities, too many of those monkeys. And then there's those that just has responsibilities and they leave them to die in the drawer. You know, the place starts to stink. It starts to smell pretty bad. And you look through the drawers and you find those tasks that should have been done that they just filed away and never went back to it and let it die. See, you've got to understand that responsibilities need to be carried out, but you got to know how many you can carry. You got to not let other people bring their responsibilities and put on your plate. You got to be careful that you're not just going and taking other people's responsibilities. You know, and sometimes we do that because we start telling people, this is what you ought to do. Well, we'll look at other people. Instead of dealing with their own stuff, we'll start looking at what somebody else is doing, and we'll say, well, here's what you need to do. You need to do this, and this. And before long, you're picking their stuff up. And so who you are and what you are is too important to allow yourself to be sabotaged by distractions or by an irresponsibility in taking too many tasks on that don't belong to you, or just mishandling. See, to where your life consists of what I call rat killing. You know, my life doesn't consist of peace and joy and fun. It's just rat killing. Dear God, I'm running from one spot to the other, and I'm exhausted. I'm not getting enough sleep because I'm having to work late at night and get up early in the morning. You know, it becomes a vicious cycle. So my point to you today is for you to pause for a few moments. Maybe you need to really have a time of prayer. Maybe find somebody that can counsel you, that can sit down with you and say, here's what you need to do with these responsibilities. Here is your top 5 right here. This, maybe that's all you can handle. You may be only able to handle 4. Here's your top 4 responsibilities. All of these others fall off the plate. Right now, this is what's going to have to demand your attention. And if you will do that, if you will make the decision to be responsible with what you have and not allow distractions to come in, not allow something to come in and derail your progress, but rather keeps you on task, I promise you'll move forward in a successful life like you never dreamed possible. You'll accomplish so many things. You'll sit down at the end of the day with a sense of satisfaction and completion and say, my God, it's good to be alive. And you wake up in the morning with a sense of anticipation of, I can't wait to get out there and get after it again. So that's the way it should be. So that's my word for you today. I want you to, all of this, like I said, rat killing, what he said to me is the fact that rats breed very easily. And we have to be careful that all of the opportunities and ideas that are out there, which they're unlimited, don't bog us down to where we stop being productive. Okay? So it's very important for your life. I want you to do that. That's what I really believe is for you. All right? I love you guys. Thank you for joining me. I so much appreciate that. Please push like, push share, and push subscribe. I'd like to stay up with you and keep you updated on what's going on. All right? I love you guys.